春节后，一只小龙虾席卷全球。AI 已经从会说话进化为会思考、能行动的开放智能体。AI 正如何改变产业？当一个团队中既有人类成员，也有 AI 智能体，他们将如何协作？中国发展高层论坛2026年年会期间，首席评论专访了相关与会专家。
Today we are focusing on AI. To what extent is AI reshaping the competitiveness landscape of nations and industries?
It is true that AI has the potential to reshape competitive advantage. That's already true in the services industry, in the consumer-facing industries, because a lot of the generative AI that we're seeing is best used with text and figures, and therefore it's quite easy to distribute and adopt in those industries. When it comes to the more physical world of manufacturing, production, it's going to take more time. So that's the first thing. Of course, nations that are leading with foundational models, and that's US, that's some countries in Europe, Germany, France, that's obviously China, will have an edge. But one thing is certain with AI is it's also spreading very fast. So look at the Chinese open source model. I think that plays a key role because it means that people can actually use the Chinese models, tune it to their own requirements, have it work on their own system, and therefore deploy what is initially Chinese competitive advantage elsewhere.
If you see the companies as a group, do they have some similarities in special areas?
First of all, the AI conversation is everywhere. There's no one single company across all sectors, across all the countries where Roland Berger is consulting, that is not talking about AI. That's what I would call FOMO, fear of missing out. So everybody wants to be part, but they realize that if they don't go in now, if they don't start to adopt, then they will miss out and they will lose competitive advantage. The paradox is that a lot of companies are investing, but they're quite often failing to see the results. We conducted a survey in December, 200 companies across the globe. 75% of the companies have adopted AI. Only 10% actually see returns commensurate to what they would like to see. Only 10%. Why is that? Well, because the productivity is not fast enough as compared to the progress of technology. So you keep investing because otherwise you miss out, but then you need a very careful approach to diffuse the technology inside.
From industry perspective, which sectors are embracing AI earlier or more deeply, do you think?
AI is not completely new. Generative AI, it takes text, sometimes it can be numbers, but it takes mostly text. And with that text, it's basically predicting what could be the next word. So it does not understand the data, it does not understand how decisions are made, but it really helps anything that is text-based. So in all services industry, obviously, that is spreading very fast in consumer-facing, call centers, customer relationship management, but also marketing data. We at Roland Berger have invented digital persona, which do not rely anymore on having to do panels with real customers. We do that once, and then we multiply it through the strength of AI, because AI will sort of simulate a digital persona. That's what the pharmaceutical industry is doing as well, using a combination of machine learning and generative AI to simulate the impact of new molecules, for example. And that accelerates research and development of potentially new blockbusters. So I think this is services industry, life science industry, everywhere we see AI adoption. The limit, again, is when it comes to the physical world. So things, production chains, industrial robots, industrial automation, there it's a lot more difficult because your AI does not understand how a robot should move in a company. So, of course, it's starting to exist with logistics, AI applied to logistics robots in factories or in warehouses, for examples. But when it comes to widespread development, it will take a bit more time, but that's the next frontier.
Actually, with the development of AI comes the anxiety for job replacement. But some believe that AI in the long run will not simply replace jobs, but will restructure the jobs and the skill combinations. So in this regard, what can you do? What can Roland Berger do to help your clients?
I think it's all about governance. Some jobs will be destroyed. There will be many other jobs created by AI. But we need to be very careful because it's not only about volume, it's also about the capabilities. So how do you train people for new capabilities to be able to interact with machines? If you have a full agentic organization where agents actually do the job that was done previously by teams, who's leading those agents? What talent do you need to be able to interface with agents, to verify data, to check ethical standards? How do you compensate those jobs? So there are multiple questions. And the last one is, there is a fundamental question, which is the displacement of labor income to capital income. We need governance for this because as a society, we cannot accept that technology is going so fast that it's basically destroying the social structure of the system. And I think that's what we find a bit in AI governance at sort of national or EU level or Chinese level. We don't believe in self-regulation because that will basically displace from labor to capital the income way too fast for the society to adjust.
Then, with the popularity of AI tools like OpenClaw, emerges the concept of digital employee. But will that fundamentally change the relationship between the traditional employer and employees?
Yes, we're working with some of our clients across different industries in creating agentic organizations. So what is an agentic organization? That is an organization where some of the human teams are replaced totally or partially by agents that perform a certain number of tasks.
Outsourced.
Not necessarily outsourced, it's still in the company, but the agents are AI agents. So basically, they work by themselves, digital employees, agents. So we work with a number of companies to help them replace teams, sometimes full processes by agentic organizations featuring digital agents. You need to make sure that some people are actually orchestrating these agents. You need to make sure that some people are verifying that the results are compliant with what the company expects. You need people to check about the ethical standards of whatever is generated by these agentic teams. Sometimes you have agents that actually manage agents. So we have even invented this for our own business, agentic teams, and you have an agent that is playing the role that maybe today is played by a human project manager, orchestrating different teams, but the teams are either humans or agents. So we're working with companies to check the feasibility of this. What is the purpose? It's not necessary to implement this, but to check whether someone could gain competitive advantage by running an agentic organization that will be faster, more efficient than a human organization.
Some AI tools can automatically generate market analysis and strategic advice for a company. So what kind of the value reconstruction will that bring to the consulting industry itself?
Sure. You know, the value of consulting for a long time already is not knowledge. It's not bringing knowledge to clients. It's solving problems and making clients act on the solutions that we're finding for them. So it's all about the human interface. It's all about making things happen at the client. That's what a good consultant does. A good consultant does not produce paper. It produces results. That's what we do. And that will always stay. Now, the tools we're using to perform our task are changing dramatically. And it's absolutely true that we can automate a lot of the research and analysis, even generating new ideas and problem solving for our clients. Now, we need guardrails because AI does hallucinate. And we have many examples where the results actually are not based on facts and data. They've been invented. Because this is a very nature of generative AI that if it doesn't find the right solution, it will invent the solution. And so, of course, we're using all these tools. For the time being, it's increasing the quality of what we're doing because we can do a lot more in the same time. It's increasing our productivity, but we need to re-inject part of that productivity in checking the results, in proofing the results, to make sure that there is no hallucination, to make sure that there is no bias, to make sure that it's comprehensive. So it should not make our people more lazy. It should make our people more vigilant, but using tools that make their life a bit better and faster.
So what do you think is the irreplicable moat in your industry for the consultants' capability?
I think the thing that cannot be replaced by any kind of machine, again, is the ability to convince clients, to make sure that clients actually implement solutions that we have designed for them. Consulting is about advising people. AI needs people to talk to other people, needs people to check what AI is doing. Probably down the road, maybe some Roland Berger virtual or digital agent will talk to clients' digital agents. So it's going to be virtual or machine talking to machines.
That's interesting.
But that's already happening, almost happening today. If we're supporting a client with vast amounts of data, basically machines interface with machines, and there's limited human intervention. But we need to check the data, we need to make sense of the data. Sometimes if we work for an investor or the board of a company, they don't want a machine giving the response because they can have that machine. They want maybe the machine to help, and they want one human, the consultant, standing out there and saying, this is what you do, and we're going to help you do it. And I guarantee it's going to work.